Welcome back to Bullpen Banter. I'm your host, Evan Davidson, alongside Christian Larson, Zach Phillips, and Ian Finlayson. Got a bit of a new look for episode 11, part 2, after Zach kind of messed up the first time. It's
Hey, I got 3 of 4 mics working.
Yeah.
So we had 3/4 of an episode.
Yeah, it's the struggles that come along with trying to bring the best content, You got Monday, the Jays are facing the New York Mets tonight at home, sitting a nice 8 games below 500. But the big news about the Jays, Bo Bichette, a guy who's been in trade rumors for what seems like pretty much the entire season, made a couple great and promising comments with Sportsnet's Shi Davidi earlier on.
You could say they were promising, that's for sure. I mean, the nature of the conversation around Bo, let's put it that way, has not been positive if you're a Jays fan. A lot of American-based reporters seem to think he's out of there and seem to think he's out of there quickly. But I know we've all discussed that we don't really necessarily think that might be the smartest decision. And maybe Bo's not even there yet. So this is a good step towards that direction.
Yeah, there was an outlet I remember a couple months back. I want to say it was like USA Post or something like that reported that he like the exact opposite. He was like on his way to Toronto and wanted out. But yeah, do we have the quote here? I think the quote was that
I could say it. So the quote was,
Okay.
I had time to think about what I want. Basically, my ultimate goal really is to play with Vladdy forever, to win a championship with him, and to do that with this organization. So I'm 100% committed to doing whatever it takes to accomplish those things. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, and I mean the piece by Shi Davidi, kind of breaking down everything about that, like the perspective that he's taken kind of in his time away from baseball, recovering and rehabbing from injury over the last couple months. It's definitely really interesting. A good read. Like he's talking about like, oh, him and Vladdy, have talked about what their future in the majors would look like since they were 18 years old in low A. And like they've always said they want to be together forever and win as many championships as they can. And like obviously now it's ultimately come to fruition, or at least part of it, like them being in the big leagues together and competing together. They haven't reached those goals yet. So it is really cool and like kind of rare, I guess, to hear his commitment to that, right? Like you don't really see that very often in current day pro sports. Like a lot of the time people are just wanting to put themselves in the optimal situation to win regardless of other circumstances. So him wanting to like stay with the same guy he's been with, the same franchise. Obviously these are just words that he's saying. It's not like the actual deal's been signed yet, but him like committing to that verbally is cool.
That's the thing. It's definitely going to be tough to sign both Vladdy and Bo. To know that they both want to stay is a step in the right direction for that happening. And I mean, Vladdy is definitely going to be the priority, I think, after this season. But you got to try to get both of them. I think if you're the Blue Jays front office, that's the logical step towards the top. In my opinion, if you're trying to compete in the next 5 years, Bo and Vladdy are your centerpieces here.
Yeah, you don't just let a all-star shortstop walk out the door, right? I know this season hasn't gone exactly the way anybody has hoped, but he's still Bo Bichette, right? Like we know what we can do with the bat. And letting him walk would just be really stupid. It would ruin the contender window if that's the route they're going, which I would assume they are.
Exactly. Let's just take a look back at what Bo Bichette has done in like past seasons, like leading the league in hits. This guy is a top tier number 2 hitter on your team that will set you up to have runners on base when Vladdy comes up, man. That he's an integral part of that lineup, in my opinion. I just say it's been a rough season for him, no doubt. But I think we kind of just have to erase that from our minds and just hope that with his last year of his contract left, starting next year, he's going to be more motivated than ever to want to be at his tip-top peak performance. And that's what I'm expecting out of a competitor like Bo Bichette. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, I was definitely surprised when he said that this morning, because the way I read it, the way I just been as a fan analyzing Bo Bichette the last maybe a few years or so, he seems like an introverted guy, and you never see him be more outspoken. The only times you will see him speak is when he's talking to Hazel May after the game when he's the performer of the game. And you just get that vibe that he's not really a social guy. And you really just have to like get closer to him to have him be a little bit more outspoken. But yeah, I'm definitely surprised, but it's definitely a good look for sure.
Yeah, and like you were alluding to there, I mean, he led the league in hits consecutive years, 2001 and 22. He would have led it in hits again in 2023 had he not, again, dealt with some leg injuries down the stretch there. He was, well above league average hitter, like over a 120, WRC or OPS plus over that time frame consistently. And then, yeah, this precipitous drop off this year has been like obviously super puzzling. We've talked about it before. Pretty much everyone, that covers the team and is around the kind of sphere of the Jays has talked about it before in terms of 4 home runs in 330 plate appearances, a 222 average, 595 OPS, fell off a cliff. So I kind of wanted to pose this question to you guys because I'm curious, and I'll share my thoughts on it first as well. If you could make the decision today, as the Blue Jays front office, would you commit to signing Bo Bichette to a long-term deal, even considering the struggles he's had this year? For myself, I would say yes. I would say that the track record is consistent enough prior to this, and I have faith that he will return to that.
I'm a yes, 100%. Not even thinking twice about it.
I agree. Definitely, just because his value would be at the lowest as well. And I think, I know it's a hypothetical situation. So, yeah, I would definitely do it. But I don't think Bo would do it because he'd want to play to get his value back up. But absolutely.
Players like Bo Bichette do not grow on trees. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It is going to be very interesting to see, now that he's come out and made this statement, how they proceed. Because, obviously both sides want to get a deal done, but just given how things have gone for him lately with the injury history plus the underperformance, it's kind of like trying to sign Vladdy to a deal the previous offseason. What does that even look like? It's so hard to figure out what a number would be. And that makes me lean towards I think the Blue Jays are so, value oriented and so safe with their, the way they approach these kind of things, that they want to be getting fair value for everything. And it makes me kind of scared and think that the front office won't be willing to pay him what he's worth in the current situation. I see a deal for Vladdy coming together a lot easier this offseason just because he has put together the second half he has. And they will be probably more willing to just not give him a blank check, but for things to go in that direction. So yeah, I'm really intrigued to see how things go with Bo contract negotiations and his future with the team this offseason.
Just the way I think opposite of conversation that we've been having around Bo, really, which is nice and refreshing to know that there is a possibility that he sticks around in the 6. But yeah, sorry, Christian, what were you going to say?
Sorry, I was just going to make a comparison of what a contract for Vladdy would look like. And
yeah, that's a good way. That's a good way to go. A good direction to go. We'll look at Bo and Vladdy.
Yeah, I was going to look at Rafael Devers when he signed his extension with the Red Sox early 2023, 11 years to $331 million, which includes a $17.5 million option to avoid arbitration for past season. Do you think it's going to be more or maybe roughly around the same price for Vlad?
I do think that's a really good comp. I've seen that comp out there. And yeah, I think that's I think it's probably going to be more than that, honestly. But I think it is a good comp.
Yeah, I agree. I think
Vladdy's I'm trying to find right now. Vladdy is younger as well than when Devers signed that.
I was also in the process of pulling it up before I
think you also have to account for inflation too, even the last.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's definitely going to be more, but I think that's a really good spot that both places are going to begin their negotiations at.
Listen, I'm at the point where you just give them a blank check. I don't care about any comps. Just keep him here as long as possible, please. I'm
on that boat with Vladdy for sure. Yeah. I think you got to be a little careful with Bo, because you can't do that with both of them.
No, of course not.
But yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. And here's a fun little one while we're on the topic. Bob Nightingale a couple of weeks ago tweeted out that the Blue Jays might be expected to be in the Juan Soto sweepstakes. So, I mean, we were in the Ohtani ones, but I wouldn't hold your hat too tight. But hey, there's no way we get 3 of them. So,
no, that I don't want to deal with that pain again of having hope, thinking you're going to bring him in, and then last second,
I might brace yourself for that this offseason. If I think there's going to be the Blue Jays rumors going to be with their hand in the pot, but I think they're going to get their hand bit off pretty fucking quickly. But hey, offseason news is offseason news.
Yeah, like I don't think they'll sign Soto. Obviously, a boy can dream, a man can dream, I guess. But yeah, like obviously, like this is the sweepstakes of the summer, like Ohtani was, or winter rather, like last winter. Yeah, like Soto is again a generational talent. Like he's kind of like a one of a kind player that, every team in the league is going to want to lock up for a long time, and only the like Yankees, Dodgers, Mets, and Giants, and then, I mean, I guess the Jays are technically in the conversation there, but
it's tough.
Yeah,
it's gonna be tough.
Yeah,
as long
like
as
I'm
he's
sure
in the AL East, just get him out of here.
He won't be, man. He's I think we all know it deep down in our hearts that he's a Yankee. He looks like a Yankee. As soon as you saw him in the pinstripes, it was like, okay, this is meant to be. Unfortunately,
yeah, it's tough. I'm gonna hold on to hope that he's not gonna be a New York Yankee. I can't accept that reality right just yet.
Yeah.
But
you didn't already accept it this year? It hasn't already been accepted?
I'm a denier. I'm a denier.
They had the fake Aaron Judge signing, so maybe they get Soto instead. A little role reversal.
John Soto to the Giants. Remember when it was Arson Judge to the Giants?
Yeah, if he didn't have that full year that he's having with the Yankees right now and getting that taste of what it's like to be a Yankee, I would say it's a little bit more likely he could become a Jay. But I'll only believe it when he comes into the Rogers Center and he rocks a Blue Jay jersey in the offseason. That's the only time I'll believe it. But no, like I think it's a waste of time and a waste of effort and just a waste of hope is just thinking that there's any chance that he comes to Toronto.
So that's a good question, because last year they spent so much time and resources on trying to chase Ohtani, they missed out on other names. We found out that Jock Peterson didn't even get a fucking phone call. So would you just scratch the chase entirely then and say, fuck it, let's not even try to get Juan? We saw what happened last year. It's not going to happen. Let's focus on who we can get. Or would you still try to see them maybe try to get him?
Like if you're Ross Atkins?
Yeah.
I would still try to pursue Juan Soto, obviously. But
I think you have to.
He's too good to just leave.
Yeah. But it's the same with Ohtani. Yeah, we lost out on Jock Peterson, but we almost did land Ohtani. So, I mean, the risk to reward is kind of
telling your grandchildren about that.
Yeah, that's going to be one that goes down with Caleb Humphreys reaching over the wall and taking that to game. Was it Game 6 against the Royals? Or that was earlier in the series. But anyway, let's go back to Bo. If you guys are all good on.
I was actually going to go back to Vlad.
Okay, let's go to Vlad first.
I think either way, like whether they sign Vlad or Bo or both this offseason, that'll be the biggest signing they make this offseason. I don't think there'll be a signing outside of players already on the team that'll surpass that. Also, when they sign either of those guys to a deal, it will be the largest contract inked in franchise history as well, right? So that's a notable thing.
Yeah.
I know Jeff Passan, when he was on Blair and Barker, said, that there would be no first baseman that gets a $300+ million contract and then walked it back and said, he thinks that $300 million is actually more so the floor for Vlad than the ceiling. Just looking at that kind of $300 million Devers comp there. If that is in fact the contract he signs, it will also be the most money that a first baseman will ever have committed to them in Major League history as well, more so than Albert Pujols, Miguel Cabrera, Joey Votto. So that'll be pretty cool. I mean,
that'll be awesome.
I guess that's how things go, but like numbers are always getting bigger, right? But yeah, it is pretty interesting for Devers. Like he got I had it up here a second ago. He got 313.5. It was a 31.5 million AAV, over 10 years. And then the numbers for him and Guerrero, Devers had an 854 OPS and Vladdy has an 859 career OPS. Vlad has 14 more home runs over the same career span. Devers does have 2.7, that is more F4. Yeah, 17.9 F4 to Vladdy's 15.2 F4 over that same period of time. I would imagine just probably from better base running, probably has higher BSR and higher, better fielding numbers.
I was gonna say, I don't remember if Devers, he's not a Gold Glover by any means, is he?
No, but the funny thing about Vladdy is like I feel like a lot of people always think of him. I know I think of him as a good fielder because he does make really good plays at first base, and he had that one Gold Glove year.
Yeah.
But like, aside from the Gold Glove year, in it was 2022, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Aside from that year, he's kind of like been below average in terms of like outs above average, and defensive runs saved and like all those kind of metrics.
Outs above average right now is second percentile.
Yeah, second, exactly. Which is weird because like the eye test doesn't really look like that. Like I find when I watch Vladdy, like even that play that he made, just in the game a couple days ago, or was it the game yesterday? Or yeah, it was yesterday when they were to bunt the guy over and he ran in and like threw the guy out at third base. Like he's really confident with his arm. Maybe the reason why he gets dinged in some of those defensive metrics is because he does tend to make riskier plays at first base. Like he will try to take that lower percentage out, and catch the lead base runner a lot of times, which like doesn't always work, I guess. But yeah, like defensive metrics aside from his Gold Glove year don't look Vladdy.
Yeah, and I think you have to take into account that you had Matt Chapman for the last 2 years, and now you have a mix of Barger, Clement, and some other outfield in there. And Vladdy, yeah, exactly.
And Vladdy, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
So those are some good comps for Vladdy. What's a Bo comp out there that you think makes sense?
Lindor, when he got $300 million for 10 years with the Mets, I think a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean it'll be that, but it'll be more just because of the inflation and money going up. Yeah.
So yeah, Corey Seager was 10 years, 325, and Correa was 6 years, 200. But Correa was a little older, and that was a little bit of a different situation.
Major concerns. Yeah.
So like, it's tough, man. I think it's really gonna be reliant on this season. Like I think they're gonna ride it right out until next offseason, and it's gonna be, all right, how did you rebound type situation.
Yeah. If I were to hypothetically map this out in my head, what's gonna happen? I'm just gonna put out a prediction. Vladdy will take an extension mid-season, and Bo will enter free agency, which I think will make it a lot harder for the Jays to re-sign him.
Yeah, that's if I feel like if he gets free agency, he's not coming back.
I think we might. I don't know. I think we might see a Vladdy contract sooner than middle of next season. But yeah, I think Bo's riding it out if he doesn't get traded because they suck next year, or say he takes it right into off season.
Yeah, and that's a big factor too. Like I think how the team performs next year will definitely influence. Like obviously, a lot of these decisions. Like if the team is bad next year, I could easily see Bo walking. If they perform really well, maybe that entices him to stay and they want to continue forward, right? Like I imagine it'd be hard for him to walk, like even if he isn't signed going into the end of next year, if they like get into the playoffs and make a run, and there's a lot of like positive energy around the team, like there was, back in the Batista,
totally.
Yeah.
And looking at the at the wild card race next year, because Baltimore's probably got the division on lock. We're not catching Baltimore. So you look at the race, you look around, like Kansas City is going to be great again next year. Boston and Tampa, Boston's a little bit of a different story than Tampa, but you're going to expect a rebound out of Tampa. Minnesota could still be hanging around. Detroit continues to be good with Skubal. Look what he's
Guardians
doing.
To remain.
The Guardians are still there. They might win it depends on who comes out of the Central, but I think the wild card race is just as packed next year. So it's going to be another tough swing for the Jays to do it. But hey, we got optimism.
Yeah. Pitch in there. And I think it was just it's been so brutal so far this season. I don't expect them at all to return to last year's efficiency. That was pretty absurd. But just if they can just get marginally better pitching, at least starters, bullpen needs to be significantly better, but just better pitching, and then they'll at least have a chance.
Well, yeah, they're gonna have to like meaningfully add in the offseason for sure to put themselves within the realm of like even wild card competition like you're seeing. I agree. I don't see them beating like either the Orioles or the Yankees, honestly, next year. Like I think those two teams are like pretty solidified in their positions. So yeah, I mean, I know we've been talking about this a little bit before, but yeah, definitely need to add like at least a starting pitcher. You're gonna have to add to the bullpen, and not just like on the margins, like probably add like at least one or maybe two leverage arms. They need a catcher, they need another position player somewhere in the order, whether it's like a third baseman or a left fielder. Like, yeah, these have been like the topics around the team, right? It's the whole second half of the season since the trade deadline. It's basically like, okay, how are these young guys doing? Where do they fit in? And then what are they like? These are the areas that they need to add in the offseason. What are they going to add? I did want to kind of like, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think we're going in the same direction. With the young guys you're talking about, like, where do you see them contributing? Like, we've seen more of Wagner, we've seen more of Horwitz. We've talked about this before, but we keep seeing more of these guys. Barger, so I feel like since the last Barger conversation we've had, he's really turned it around as well. Loper Fido, I mean, the swing and miss is coming around a little bit. What do you guys think? What do you like what you're seeing out of the younger guys?
Yeah, I definitely absolutely like what I'm seeing, but ideally right now or for next season, I want to have those guys battle for their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So it will give them a little bit more incentive to actually continue pushing through and see what they could do in their second year. But yeah, I'm really liking what they're seeing so far. There's a lot of legit power from guys like Addison Barger, and even Spencer Horwitz he's been hitting a lot of lasers with high exit velos, which is what you like to see from a guy who constantly makes contact and is constantly getting on base. And if you add more power, this guy's gonna be a legitimate threat with his bat. And yeah, and Loper Fido too. Like again, he's been cutting down his strike zone or his strikeout rate since the first month coming to the Jays. And again, high impact power from a lefty too. It's funny how we were talking about the Jays don't have enough lefty impact hitting, and now it's like we feel like we have a surplus.
Yeah, I'll give it to them. They addressed that need in the interim with like prospects that could butt into real like star lefty bats, which is a great thing for them to be focusing on. Horwitz set the rookie record for most total bases in a game with 11. That was a crazy showing he had. What was it? 2 homers in the first 4 innings, I think it was, and then like 2 doubles, and then another ball he ripped off the wall that he should have doubled on that took a weird bounce on him and he ended up at first. But I've been really impressed by Spencer. I know we're a big Spencer crew here.
And Will Wagner also set the rookie record. Yeah, and Wagner set the rookie record for most hits in a game for a rookie. So yeah, even though one of them came off a pitcher, but he's just
oh, that's right. Yeah.
Like the team record since they've really flipped the roster, like it's not anything crazy, right? They're a game below 500, but it's just this influx of youth that just makes them so much more exciting to watch. Maybe it's because of how bad they were at the beginning of the season, and like now we have a chance to watch these guys and see if they can be anything.
Well, fuck, we were watching Daniel Vogelbach stand in there and watch 3 pitches go by. Like
it's just like fun to watch these young guys get an opportunity, and you know as fans to see what they could be, and that's going to be a key piece of this team going forward.
Yeah. I wanted to touch just kind of on how things have changed since the deadline in that respect for sure. I did just want to go back and kind of get into what Christian was saying a little bit there in terms of the outlook going into next year. Personally, aside from Spencer Horwitz and maybe Ernie Clement, I would like the kind of formation of the roster to be that none of these guys have starting roles going into next year. Like you said, maybe competing. But guys like Barger, Loper Fido, even Orelvis Martinez coming off suspension, Will Wagner, Jonathan Clase at AAA. Ideally, you'd want these guys to be like competing for spots and not like the two of them are in competition for one role.
Yeah.
Like they're a AAA, or Joey Loperfido is like a fourth outfielder. And if he pops, like if he's going in there and with the, the at bats that he gets and hitting every single day, then maybe that opens up a bigger role for him. But I think you can't be like, if they are looking to compete next year, they can't be like banking on any of these guys to play full-time roles.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely.
And you added some veterans from like short-term deals as well, and that not only helped them, like all those rookies and those sophomores, get some veteran presence and get some advice. But again, like it'll be a competition, and that will also help them to continue being motivated and leave off to where they were producing this season into next season.
Yeah,
you want them to earn a starting role.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And like Spencer Horwitz, yeah, man, like 3 bombs over the last 2 games is pretty crazy. He didn't even get the start the day after he hit the 2 home runs. And that was pretty sweet too, because it was like he hit 2 home runs and then he also hit 2 doubles off the wall. Like,
yeah,
4 I think I saw that in Yankee Stadium, and I believe it was one other park as well. I can't remember. He would have had 4 home runs. So that would have been pretty sweet. I mean,
another name that we keep forgetting, or not keep forgetting, but that just popped out of nowhere, Nathan Lucas. Back up with the club, healthy. He's batting over 400, 10 hits and 25 plate appearances. I think he's only got 3 ribbies, but that's another name we keep forgetting that could be in the mix as well.
He's been hitting leadoff. That's hence why.
Isn't that crazy?
I think Buck aired them out on the broadcast too, saying, that would have been a cheaper center field option than Kevin Kiermaier to start the season. I love that.
Yeah, he roasted them for that. I mean,
I like Lucas.
Hurt. I think he got hurt. I thought he came into the season hurt. So when I first heard that, I was like, oh yeah, hindsight's 2020. But no, he came into the season healthy.
Yeah, he didn't get hurt. You know what? Let me pull it up here. I think it was like a month or 2 in. Like it was, I don't think it was April. I think it was like, if it was April, I think it was the end.
Okay.
As he like he broke his thumb and then he was out for about 2 months. But I feel like he played the first couple months and then was out for a couple months.
He got injured, I believe, early June.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Here, let me just.
Yeah, I have it on minor league baseball right now. He got placed on the 7-day injury list on June 9th and then got transferred to the 60-day on August 5th.
Yeah. So that's what I thought about 2 months into the season.
Yeah, he's someone I'd be like more than okay with as the 4th outfielder going into next year. Like if it was like, let's assume they sign a couple guys and they have some established MLB starters in the outfield, and it's between like Loperfido or Lucas. I'd rather Lucas up as the 4th outfielder and just give Joey some more valuable reps down in AAA.
There is definitely value there. I think you're right. Like to give him more time, like everyday playing, because Lucas doesn't need that. We've already seen what he can do with everyday playing in AAA. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting how this season finishes off between, and then spring next year is gonna be. Spring's gonna be a bloodbath. We thought there was battles this year. I think next year's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, it's a crazy logjam, and like I would bet because of that, because they have so many of these the multiple 4th outfielder types, multiple like second baseman / utility infielders. I wouldn't be surprised if they move one of these guys in the offseason. Like if a guy like Will Wagner or Addison Barger or something ends up in a trade for like a relief pitcher, which might even be like a loss of value. If you're looking at it from that perspective, but in the position the Jays are in, they need relief pitching. They have a surplus of that. Like I can see them turning something like that around.
There's definitely they did it with Santiago Espinal just recently. So they're not scared to trade a surplus for a need. That's for sure. I mean, they did it with Moreno as well. I wonder that's a good conversation then. Who would of the bunch has the best trade potential that you would be okay with giving up? Because it's like, he's the best trade candidate, but maybe you want to keep him. Like I think Barger has the most value. In the sense of coming our way. Like
it seems like
return.
It seems like in terms of like potential, like just raw tools, Barger like would garner the most interest there. right? Just because of what he can do with his bat, and he's got a cannon of an arm, and it's a lot of fun to watch. So I don't want him gone.
Yeah,
But he
Barger,
definitely seems like someone that would, just based on his raw tools, would be able to, get a fairly decent return.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, just coming from like a wanting the team to be exciting perspective, and watching it all the time, I want to see a guy like Barger around.
Oh,
just
I want him
because
to stay. Yeah.
electrifying. Like it's so
exciting.
exciting. Like he's absolutely crushing the ball when he does make contact, and like missing a ton when he doesn't. Like he's definitely like a massive like high ceiling guy, and also really low floor. Like he could totally not work out as well. And Wagner is definitely the safer option there. But yeah, let's continue and take a look just at how they're going to be augmenting the roster going into next year. Whether it's with some of these younger guys, where they're going to fit in, what they need to add. We'll continue and talk about that a little bit more. So yeah, considering that the Blues have to make some really significant additions to the roster if they are going to stay true to their word and be a competitive team next year, probably shooting for one of these wild card spots. Like we were saying, we went over all the spots where they're going to have to add, a couple pitchers in both in the bullpen and a starter. Going to need some bats, probably at least one good power bat in the lineup. You're going to need a catcher to pair with Alejandro Kirk. That's probably the bare minimum. So we'll start with a starting pitcher. Looking at the rotation next year, we obviously got Bassett, Barrios, and Gosman up front. Ariel and Bowden could fill those last two rotation spots, but that does leave you in a bit of a precarious spot. If any of those three workhorses were to go down, considering the innings they've pitched, all three of them are in the top 8 over the past 4 seasons. And then also just leaving Bowden and Ariel those last 2 spots and just giving them those spots. Kind of a, bit presumptuous there. It's very possible, one or maybe even, both those guys don't pan out. So who do you guys see as a good target for the team on the free agent starting pitcher market?
There's a lot of names out there. The starting pitching market this season is very interesting. The top end's pretty thin, but like it's very middle heavy. There's a lot of 2, 3, 4 guys that like you could stockpile on for some good value. Like I know Alex Cobb, Kyle Hendricks, those are some guys that are at the end of their career that don't really stick out to me. But like guys like, Manaya's got an opt-out. Merrill Kelly has a club option. I don't know what's going to happen there. Walker Buehler, that's a big one. Do you think he's going to resign in LA, or do you think that he's going to? He's had a shaky up and down career, to say the least. He's very highly touted.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of names like Michael Soroka, Canadian. Like he could be a great ad as well. So I'll what do you guys think?
So I was just gonna say, Walker Buehler. I could actually realistically see him being like a possibility for the Jays, just based on what the Jays have done in years past under the Atkins regime, with getting guys on a lower, like you're buying low on these guys. For example, like Robbie Ray, who was coming off a really bad start to that season before he came on in 2021. I believe it was that year. And then Walker Buehler is also that prime candidate who was a former top prospect and had some really good years with the Dodgers before suffering that injury and coming back, and doesn't seem like he's himself. I could absolutely see the Jays get someone on a lower value deal to possibly be that 3rd or 4th starting pitcher. And other guys for me that pop out, I think, is like Andrew Heaney, who is, you could probably sign this guy to like another 1-year deal as well. I think I realistically see guys on 1-year deals, on like some prove it deals, or just like veteran presence alone. But Mike Soroka, I believe he's now a relief pitcher with the White Sox, so I don't think that's possible.
Yeah, I guess he got moved to the pen. Yeah, they could try to put him back in the rotation, but it's tough.
He was really good.
Good Canadian boy.
Yeah,
right?
There's a
tripping.
I feel like
a few Canadians.
Yeah, I feel like Walker Buehler is like the same situation as Chad Green almost, where it's like a guy who was a stud and then, was getting hurt and then signs a little bit of a prove it deal, like a club option, not crazy expensive, try and get back to your former form and then earn yourself a larger payday down the road.
I don't know if I'd quite put Bueller in the Chad Green category, just because I think he's had more significant injury problems than that. Like Chad Green was just a TJ come back kind of standard, whereas Walker Bueller, it's been like, I don't know, like a year and a half now, and then even when he has come back, he's struggled. And like I think the last time that he pitched consistently well and was injury free was like 2021. So with him, I think there is a bit more of a question mark there, like personally. And that is just probably the side of me that does want to play it safe a little bit with those kind of things. I think there is like a path back to him being a top end pitcher for sure, but I just think it's definitely risky. Another guy like coming off an injury that I think could be an interesting kind of prove it candidate, like you were alluding to there, Christian, is Shane Bieber. Like Bieber's shown some really like top end potential in previous years. Coming off an injury could be a value option there. And also talking about the Canadians, there's a lot. Yeah, the Soroka, and
there's three, right?
And Pavetta that are free agents as well. Yeah. I kind of like for like a fifth starter, like and like could be a swingman kind of guy. And I could see him maybe having a little bit of a revival in Toronto as well as Nick Pavetta. Like I kind of like him as a bit of a sneaky back end option there. But tell me what you guys think about the idea of the Jays signing a top end starting pitcher, because I personally think there was an argument to be made for that. Like if you look at Gausman, Barrios, and Bassett, I don't like. There is maybe ace upside if one of them puts together a really good season. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but I don't really see any of those three as a true ace. That really is like a 2, 3, 4 kind of middle of a rotation trio there. So I do think there's an argument to be made that the Jays kind of are in need of a true ace. And I think that kind of like impact addition could really position them better to be competitive. And if they are serious about it, I think that is something they should consider.
I agree. There's a few interesting names at the top end of this free agent class. Like Jordan Montgomery has an option. Max Fried would be another interesting one we could throw into the mix as well, to throw in at the front end of the rotation. But you're totally right. I feel like we do need a 1, 2, 3 kind of guy to add into this mix. What about like an old candidate? Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. I think Verlander has an option. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But I know Scherzer is going to be a free agent. Would you take a chance on one of those guys?
Yeah, so they're both going to be unrestricted free agents.
Both are? Yeah. And I mean, we don't need to get too much older in the rotation, but I mean, if Scherzer still has something left in the tank, why not throw a 1-year deal at him? See what could happen.
I could be wrong, but weren't we close to signing Verlander a couple years ago?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, he was the Jays' second option.
Yeah. The Jays were the second option. Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting. I'm not like opposed to it. I guess from the
money would have to make sense. And I guess Clayton Kershaw is another older name you could throw in that mix as well. Because
in terms of like, I guess trying to get the fans back and excited again, like that wouldn't hurt. Right. It could be a fun one, just bring some experience to the team, especially with this influx of youth, maybe not necessarily on the pitching side, but some younger guys on the roster now. So that would be a fun one. I'm personally for it. I don't know if it will work out, but it'll be fun.
I think it kind of adds to the problem though that Ian's mentioning is like we still don't have that clear number one, because like Scherzer and like I would love it as like a 4th or a 5th maybe, but like, well, they wouldn't be a 4th or a 5th, but you know what I mean. But I don't think they could. They don't have the. They don't have it left in the tank to take the reins out of a 1A guy. So I mean, I still think you'd be looking for that option.
The other issue with that too is like I think they do need that like true number one guy, but they've already like spent so much on starting pitching. Like you look at like the best rotation in the league. You look at like the Seattle Mariners, for example. Like 4 of their 5 starters have options left. Like they have like Brian Wu, Bryce Miller, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, all with options left. They're all like below the age of 27. Whereas the Jays, it's the exact opposite. They paid these guys a ton of money. Like they are like Gausman, Bassett, and Barrios all making, north of $20 million a year. So
there's a reason. Oh, sorry, Larson. There's a reason the head of pitching development in our organization just got let go a month ago. And it's because of the inability to develop pitching.
Like as much as they
hard stop. We have not done it.
Yeah. As much as they need that number one, it's like, are you really going to go and like throw a bunch of money at another pitcher? Like that, it's kind of hard to argue as much as they need it.
Yeah.
It's also if you do that prevent them from, giving both Bo and Vlad that deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And which that's the last thing you want. That's the first priority.
That being said, if they were to go after Max Fried, I'd be for that. I like Max Fried.
I think one of those guys might be worth it.
I like Spencer Horwitz. I like Max Fried.
No, yeah.
I think that they're at a bit of a disadvantage because they're in north of the border, so they're gonna have to pay up a bit more, right? And since that you already mentioned the Mariners, Ian, I think the Mariners are gonna be in an interesting spot in the offseason too, because they have so many deficiencies in offense. I think they might be able to trade or entertain a trade for one of those guys like a Logan Gilbert or a Kirby. What's his name? Not who's
George Kirby or
George Kirby or there's another one. Bryce Miller. So I think I could definitely see them trading one of those pitchers to get a quality offensive player in return. So I mean the Jays could be a potential trade candidate, but I could also see them trading with the Rays because they make one every single year.
I can see like the Mariners. I think are a good trade candidate for sure. I can see that happening. I just think it'll be really hard to pry one of those guys away from them. It's going to take a lot of value going the other way as well. And like, I don't know. I don't see the Mariners as a team that's looking to like sell a guy off for future assets. So it's just kind of a little bit tough to see how that kind of trade would come together. But I do think there is something to be discussed there. Yeah.
He's kind of nuts. It's like
if he has, crazy.
Yeah, if he doesn't make a trade in like 2 months, he's gonna.
Yeah, he's got the itch.
Yeah, he's got the itch, man. Same with.
Yeah, funny that he's crazy in that respect, but he wants his team to play to a 54% win percentage forever.
5-4, baby. I'm gonna get tattooed on my forehead. 54%.
Yeah, the most shameful. One of the most shameful things ever said.
Oh my God. But I back to the like starting pitching like additions. Like I'd be more comfortable with us adding to our rotation from within than adding to our lineup from within. Because like Jake Bloss, Tiedemann, Mako, those guys, like I feel like they can grow into something in the next couple of years with new coaching, mind you. But I feel like those guys have a real, I don't know, maybe it's just biasness that we're high on them, but I feel I'm pretty high on Tiedemann if he can stay healthy. Obviously, we all are. But like Bloss as well, he has the potential to be a top end, front end guy. Mako, we'll see. He could be like a 4 or 5, maybe a 3 guy. So I feel like we do have some guys from within in the next 2 years that can step into that, but it'll be interesting to see how they can. Maybe let's just teach everybody to throw a splitter. Fuck it, everyone throws a splitter now. Like
I mean, they're doing that anyway, right?
That's what I mean. Like, let's get them all throwing splitters, and one of them's gonna stick.
Like, you can't throw a splitter? Try time to hold a baseball in your hand for the entire offseason so your fingers stretch to the right angles.
Oh yeah, screw the lip surgery for like females and stuff like that. We're going finger surgery for pitchers.
Hell yeah. The new TJ. Yeah, so in terms of the bullpen, I had a bit of a spiel that I wanted to do on this as well. Because I think there's been a lot of like doom and gloom around the bullpen. And I mean, like rightfully so. They have been one of the worst bullpens in baseball this year. I think bottom 3 in like almost every major category, like home runs allowed, ERA, strikeout minus walk, all that kind of stuff that you assess a bullpen by. But I personally don't think the outlook going into next year is quite as bad as people think. I do think it is bad, don't get me wrong, but I keep hearing people say, oh, like they need to completely rebuild the bullpen from scratch and like they need to sign 7 relievers. Like, no, that's not quite the case. A lot will be hinging on what happened with Jordan Romano. Again, I think we've discussed this a little bit before, but I think there is a question of whether he will be a non-tender candidate. I don't think that means that they would non-tender him and he wouldn't continue with the team. I think his $10 million value, you know what? I think I originally heard he talked about it about 10 million, but I think that might be reaching a little bit now, just coming off the injury and that underperformance. Like maybe his Arbitration figures more like 8 or 9. But even at that, I think it's a little much, just considering all the risk with him coming off this season. So like maybe it's a non-tender and they sign him to like a 2 or 3 year deal worth less or something like that. I do think there's a question mark of if he has the clothing job next year. Like maybe he'll have it, but I do think they should bring someone in who could potentially fill in that role if need be. So, okay, start with, let's say Romano's there, whether it's in the closer role or at the back end of the bullpen. Chad Green's also there. The two lefties that they've had going this year, Enes Cabrera, Brandon Little, they'll definitely, I think, stay with the team. I don't think they're going to want to spend money and go outside of house to bring in a lefty, considering the results those guys have gotten. Might not be like elite level performance or anything like that, but it's been solid. I think they'll probably go with that. And then Eric Swanson is the other guy who, again, might be a non-tender candidate at $3 million. They might want to add someone else and kind of cut him loose there, but could potentially fill a spot in the bullpen next year. But even let's put Swanson aside and say, just given how poor he's performed this year, he's fallen off and he's not an option. That leaves you with 4, the 2 lefties, Green and Romano. And then if they add a starting pitcher, that would mean that one of Bowden Francis or Yariel Rodriguez will also end up in the bullpen because neither of them have options. It's built in Yariel Rodriguez's deal that he doesn't have any more options after this season. So that gives you 5 bullpen arms. One of either Bowden or Yariel is kind of a swing man there. I think Yariel, like as an aside, there even has some potential as like a leverage back end guy there as well if this stuff plays up. So then you got 3 spots you need to fill basically. Which I think really probably only 2 of which would need to be legitimate, like decently high profile signings. You could probably fill the last bullpen spot either internally or through like minor league deals. So yeah, that leaves like 2 bullpen spots to fill with like legit free agent signings. So it's not 7 guys. You probably need to get like 2 good ones.
Absolutely. I mean, there's plenty of names out there to fill those 2 spots with. What were you gonna say?
There's a ton.
No, I was going to say, like, as much as I agree, I kind of was hoping they would go. I mean, there's not many names, but a lefty would be nice, especially maybe a bit more high leverage. And if they want to take a shot on a guy like AJ Minter, who's been successful in his career, that could, just hope get him healthy again. And then not closing, obviously, but a bit more high leverage than Cabrera or Little. I mean, I think there's a lot of value in that.
Dude, I love me some AJ Minter. I mean, I don't think it would hurt. Like, they need to get 2 more guys. I don't think it would hurt to add a 3rd lefty. That's a lot more lefties than they've had over the past few years. But
yeah,
I think it's an option.
Like, I don't think he's not. He's never really been a closer. He had 15 saves in 2018, then he had 10 last year, right? And then he's got 11 in the rest of his career combined, right? So like he's not gonna. He can, I guess, if you need him to. Like, let's say you're going to the 9th inning and there's 3 lefties, like throw him in there. But it's just a high leverage guy, who's got higher pedigree than Cabrera.
Will Smith might be a cost friendly name as well that could try and
2025 World
as well.
Well, maybe we win the World.
It guarantees us the next chip. Like, why not?
Yeah. He's the Jordan McCaw of the MLB right now.
Now, what was
Patrick Maroon? Patrick McCaw and Pat Maroon, and now Will Smith.
Draw Dyson had a nice run there too.
Yeah, if let's say they're not sure about Romano as the closer, like there's some interesting names, right? Like you got Estevez, who was the closer in the Angels. Now he's kind of in a split role with the Phillies with Jeff Hoffman, who's been incredible and is going to get absolutely paid.
That's another guy that's on the list there. It's Jeff Hoffman, a former Blue Jays farmhand back in the day as well.
Yeah, and Rocky's legend.
You also got Paul Sewald, Kendall Brickman, Blake Trinan. Even.
Those guys are going to cost a lot, though. And I don't know if we're going to be...
Scott's in that boat, too. Like, he's going to be expensive.
Yeah. We might have our resources best diverted elsewhere, but it would be nice to stick a Blake Trenian or a Paul Sewald or one of those guys at the back. That would be slick.
If I were to guess, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Kirby Yates has been good. Maybe you bring him back and actually have him pitch for the Jays for once.
I'd love to.
That experiment didn't really work out.
Bro,
I would have loved to
Yeah.
see him for the Jays that year before he got injured. But yeah, realistically, I think then and just going off years past, the Jays haven't really invested a ton when it comes to free agent relievers. If I were to guess, like it'll probably be a guy who would be worth maybe around like nothing more than 7 million for that year. I could see maybe a guy like what you said, Zach, Will Smith, and even Ryan Stanek, a guy who has had high leverage experience, and also other guys maybe like Adam Ottavino, but he's getting up there in age. But I could see him being there as well.
So definitely. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go.
I was gonna be, if you have something else to add, Alex, I was gonna move on to the next.
I was just gonna say quickly then, the name I am kind of intrigued by is Jose Leclerc. And right, he's closed some games kind of more than Minter, but he's never had more than 14 saves in a year. But he was really good when he was younger, in those high leverage spots for the Rangers. He lost the closing job with Kirby Yates there this year, and he's struggled a bit, so that could maybe be a slightly cheaper option. He's not that old. He's only 30.
I think Leclerc is underrated for sure. That's a guy that I've always kind of liked.
It's just a guy who's been good that, if he reverts to his former self, then it's a plus, right? Like, it's low risk-ish.
Yeah. I guess I'll conclude. One other thing I did want to add, I guess, with the bullpen thing about is that regardless if you add like left-handed or right-handed, whether it's like a guy who's a true closer or it's a guy who's more of like a supplemental like leverage arm, I want it to be like swing and miss. Like they need guys with electric stuff. They're going to get strikeouts. Obviously you want like a low walk rate as well. Like you don't want to be like sacrificing control for those strikeouts necessarily, but like, yeah, they need some like high end swing and miss stuff at the back of the bullpen, which is, I mean, I'm beating a dead horse here, but yeah, for sure.
Jordan Hicks was fun while he lasted.
High velo, baby. Let's blow the doors off this. You know what?
Like Holmes?
Yeah.
Clay Holmes is on there. Yeah, man. We can get two Clay Holmeses or two Zach Pops.
Perfect.
And last but not least, do you guys want to talk about some potential position players that the Blue Jays could potentially pursue in free agency? Like for me and personally, I think the Jays are going to try to pursue a third baseman via free agency or trade. There's not many options out there, but it's definitely something the Jays could consider. And also even maybe a left fielder that could be vying for a role against, we'll be battling against a Joey Loperfido. So what do you guys think the Jays will do for position player needs?
So personally for me, I actually don't love the idea of them signing a third baseman. I'd be fine with them acquiring a third baseman, but like when you look at the third basemen that are going to be available this offseason on the market, it's like Alex Bregman and then Juan Moncada, Eugenio Suarez, and Gio Urshela. Like it's pretty slim pickings. So and personally, I don't really like the idea of Bregman. I think he's kind of been declining, and I just don't love it. Like for the amount of money you're probably gonna have to pay him. I would rather like honestly go with, like, it sounds kind of crazy considering that they want to kind of get back in the thick of things, but Ernie Clement starting at third base, and then maybe the big upside add is in the outfield or something like that.
It depends on how much money they want to spend, right? Especially with the looming contracts of Bo and Vlad and what they need to do in pitching. But if they're willing to spend money, I'm going to continue to bang the Anthony Santander drum. I think that would be a lot of fun. Just a nice power switch hitter in DH and then play some outfield every now and then.
Oh, yeah. I think that's the optimal option.
Yeah. I definitely need that, like a middle of the order bat that could hit after a Vladdy and be batting fifth potentially. So yeah, like Anthony Santander definitely fits that role. Tyler O'Neill, even though he's Canadian, I'm not sure that's gonna happen, but I would love to have him be a full-time left fielder in that team. If we're talking about maybe a platoon situation, a more cheaper option, I could definitely see Mark Canha, who is now currently with the Giants, previously played with the Tigers this season. You could have him platoon with the guy like Nathan Alukes or Loperfido at left field. So, and he also plays a little bit of first base as well. So I think that's also a good option.
Okay, real quick before we finish up here, I think we wanted to go around the league with a little bit of different stuff here, a couple different topics. Big picture. I know NL Rookie of the Year has been a big debate lately. Just wanted to kind of fire it around real quick with you guys and get your takes on who you think NL Rookie of the Year should be. For me, like I keep hearing you talk about between Jackson Merrill and Paul Skeens, and I do think there's a third horse in the race, which is Shota Imanaga. I think that's kind of like a different part of the conversation, because it's okay whether these guys should even really be considered as rookies when they're coming into the league at like an older age after already having played professional baseball for years. I mean, I think Paul Skeens should be Rookie of the Year just based off how incredibly dominant he's been. Like the numbers he's put up are like just like hair raising. And I don't think, like, I don't even honestly understand why there's that much of an argument. I do just think the two other guys deserve some credit, but what do you guys think?
I think Skeens also wins the popularity contest, which definitely going to hurt Jackson Merrill and Shota in their bid for Rookie of the Year.
I believe, like, again, like you said, Ian, Paul Skeens, when it comes to stuff and like being the most like electric player to dominate in his role as a rookie, I think it should be Skeens. However, we cannot deny how dominant Jackson Merrill has been the past month and a half. Probably one of the most clutch hitters in that time span. And he's also set some records himself as a rookie, I think, with the RBIs. Like he's been one of the best hitters in that time span in the last month and a half or so. And it's probably because not a lot of people know much about him because he's playing for the Padres. And like a lot of people are asleep when he's going off. But as of right now, I think Merrill is definitely a lead, but I would love to see Paul Skeens win that award.
So my gripe with not giving it to Paul Skeens is we haven't seen not even just a rookie starting pitcher in general since Strasburg, probably way back 15, 14 years ago, do what he's doing. He started the All-Star game, and then you have to take into account, like, yeah, he's got the hitching limitations because he's a rookie and all this stuff. But I just look at the 2019 race, and I know it's hard to go back and look at different years, but Merrill's numbers are comparable to Brian Reynolds pretty closely comparable. And Reynolds lost that year, Pete Alonso. So if in terms of pure spectacularness, Rookie of the Year, this guy, I turn my TV on to watch. I think you got to give it to Paul Skeens. But I understand the fact that Merrill has, I'm looking at it now, 497 ABs. So that's pretty impressive compared to what Skeens has done in his. But I just can't ignore Paul Skeens. I just can't ignore what he's doing with a baseball in his hand. That's blinker 101. If you could take Paul Skeens' arm and put it with zero injury concerns and say day one, go out there and let her rip, he would be the MVP, or he might be the MVP, but he'd be the Rookie of the Year, no questions asked.
I mean, yeah, when you look at he's got the fourth highest strikeout rate in the league, only behind Garrett Crochet, Chris Sale, and Tyler Glass now. So yeah, I'm just blowing guys away at that rate, first year in the league. Yeah, it really is unprecedented stuff. And then the last topic we wanted to snap around real quick, just before we finish up here, I believe it was the AL Cy Young. I know there's been a lot of discussion between Tarek Skubal and then the insane season that Emmanuel Clase is having. So before I throw it to you guys to finish up here, I did just want to lead with the fact that Emmanuel Clase is having, in terms of ERA, the 7th best relief pitching season of all time. So yeah, what do you guys think in terms of that race there?
I'll just go real quick, and I like Emmanuel Clase purely because it's rare to see a reliever win it. And so far he's thrown 65 and a third, 0.69 ERA, 0.66 whip, and in those 65 and a third innings, he has only given up 5 earned runs. I just think it is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I think I've come around on it, honestly.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Evan. I'm still leaning towards Tarek Skubal, though. I mean, the guy's closing in on what looks to be a potential triple crown for pitching. And I mean, he's leading not only just in ERA, but FIP, ERA plus, I mean, WAR, all those like really meaty stats that nerds like us care about. And if you don't care about nerdy stats, he's also leading in wins. So no, we don't really give a shit. But yeah, I think that Skubal definitely deserves. I mean, he's heavily favored by the books. I definitely think Class A has been having an awesome season, and I think it should be notified that. But I think Skubal is.
It was minus 10,000.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. But I think like you said, 42 saves, 5 earned runs all season.
5 earned
for Class A. I mean,
500 innings.
Yeah, it had to take a season like Skubal's to shut down a reliever. That just shows how hard it is for a reliever to take this award.
Yeah, so I mean, just touching back on Class A there, 1 of 7 guys below a 0.7 ERA as a reliever, minimum 40 innings. So in the company of Zach Britton, Joey Devine, Fernando Rodney, Dennis Eckersley, Ricky Horton, and Casey Sadler there.
I bet
for one of the best
you Zach Britton
all time.
I bet you Zach Britton racked up a save in playoffs that year, eh?
He must have, right? You're that good. How would he not?
Oh my!
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
No, we'll have to look that up.
Yeah,
I'm curious. But yeah, definitely a case to be made. I think it'd be really cool. Obviously, Skubal is a strong case to be made there. I mean, I love when guys' expected stuff lines up with their like actual results. The fact that the FIP and the expected ERA is right in line with what's actually happening is pretty cool. So he hasn't really gotten lucky at all. He's actually just blowing guys away and putting the ball in good spots for himself to succeed. But that'll be it for Bullpen Banter today. After going around that big picture league-wide stuff a little bit, we appreciate everyone joining us and listening. We were a little bit busy doing some Paralympic coverage through school over the last couple of weeks, so that was occupying a lot of our time, but we're looking to get on a more consistent schedule, releasing episodes every week. So yeah, we'll have another episode coming next week. Appreciate all the listeners, and have a great day.